Hey guys, welcome back to Ciara's Cookery. Today we are making a sauteed squash recipe. I know a lot of people don't like squash. I'm telling you, if you make it this way, it's going to be really good. It's definitely a healthier side than a lot of other things we eat on the side. So if you're trying to get away from the breads and the rice and all those types of things, squash is definitely a really good substitute. Especially if you're trying to stop eating like broccoli and green beans all the time on the side. But basically, you're going to wash your squash up really, really good. Make sure you get all the dirt and stuff removed from it. And then you are going to slice it. You can slice it as thin as you want. You can slice it as thick as you want. I usually, if it has a smaller, starts out smaller and get bigger, on the smaller parts, I typically cut those a little bit thicker than I do the larger parts of the squash, so that I can try to get it to cook at the same pace. But yeah, it's really, really simple. You can cut up maybe, 3 to 4 pieces of squash. That would be more than enough for dinner that night and leftovers for lunch the next day, and maybe a little bit more as well. Take your time. If there are any imperfections in your squash, this is your time to cut it off. So if it's like a dark mark, a brown mark, maybe it's been cut in two or something like that, go ahead before you do the slices and cut off those imperfections. Okay, now you want to go ahead and take your skillet out. Probably put it on about somewhere between medium to medium high, kind of depending on how your oven is cooking. I'm cooking on an electric oven, so I typically cook a little bit closer to the medium high side. But you're going to put in about a tablespoon or two of olive oil. You're going to rotate that around your skillet. And then, what am I looking for right now? The butter. That's what I'm looking for, y'all. It's coming. But basically what you're going to do, you're going to get you maybe a tablespoon or two of butter. Okay, and you're going to put that in your skillet. Get that melted all around. I try to make sure all of the butter is melted before I try to throw in any of the squash. So you can just rotate that skillet to get that butter to go ahead and melt down, combined with the olive oil. And again, you don't want to have your skillet up too high, because if you don't, it's going to brown your butter a lot of times. And you're going to scotch your squash before you get a chance to kind of cook it down to make it soft. You want to go ahead and add in all your slices of squash. There's no rhyme or reason to how you're going to put it in. Just go ahead and put it all in. But make sure you don't throw it in there so that hot butter and olive oil doesn't splash up on you. Definitely do not want that. Now, at this moment, you want to go ahead and prepare your seasonings. The first seasoning that we're going to put in here is black pepper. If you're not a black pepper fan, don't worry about it, but I love black pepper on my squash. I probably put about 2 tablespoons on here or more. It's up to you. The next thing I'm going to add is some garlic salt. If you are trying to stay away from salt, you can definitely put in some garlic herb Mrs. Dash as a substitute. The next thing I'm going to add is some onion powder. You can go as heavy or as light. I went a little bit heavier this time because I didn't think to add any fresh onion slices to this. Sometimes I do that, add half a onion You can add that in here too to kind of give it some flavor. But once you add your seasonings, you just take your spatula or your spoon or whatever you toss your veggies with, and you're just gonna mix it up with the olive oil and the butter and the seasonings, and you're gonna make sure that all of the squash is evenly covered. So take your time with this. If you feel like your pieces are sticking together, this is your time to unstick them. Even if they're sliced and they're completely separate like mine are, sometimes they do stick together. So this is your time to kind of look over everything, make sure things are all separated, and then just stir it up. Really, really simple, easy recipe. All right, after it cooks for about maybe 3 to 4 minutes, you're gonna check on it. It's gonna look like this. You can cook it longer. Maybe you want to cook it for like 7 to 10 minutes because you like your squash really soft, but I typically don't. So after about 4 minutes, it'll look something like this, and it's ready to serve. All right, so this is our end result of the squash. Okay, still has a little bit of a bite to it, a little bit of crunch on the edge, but it's soft on the inside. It's seasoned very well. All I did was sprinkle a little bit of parsley on top, and that is it. Remember, to drain some of that oil off the bottom if you don't want all that oil on your food, and that's it. Thank you for joining us today, and remember to like and subscribe.